In late antiquity, no one could have imagined that a vast civilization would rise from the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula. Yet through far-reaching conquests, caliphs and sultans would come to rule immense empires, experiencing eras of both prosperity and catastrophe. This is 1,000 years of Islamic history, centered on its Middle Eastern heartland. By the 6th century, the Arabian Peninsula stood between two great powers, the Persian Sasanian Empire to the east and the Christian Byzantine Empire to the west. The Arabs, mostly nomadic tribes, shared an ethnic and cultural identity but were largely polytheists. Everything was about to change. Muhammad, around 570 CE, Muhammad was born in Mecca. According to Muslim tradition, he was chosen by God as the last prophet in a line that included Abraham, Moses, and Jesus to restore pure monotheism among the Arabs. Over many years, the Quran was revealed to him in segments and later compiled into Islam's central text. At first, Muhammad faced persecution, but after migrating to Medina, an event that marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar, he established a Muslim community, fought wars against idolaters, and united the Arab tribes. Muhammad died in 632, leaving behind a pressing question: who would succeed him as both religious and political leader? That question of leadership would echo throughout Islamic history. The Rashidun caliphs. Muhammad's successors adopted the title of caliph, meaning successor. The first four, known as the Rashidun or rightly guided caliphs, ruled for 30 years. They built institutions, levied taxes, and expanded the state at an astonishing pace, from Iran to North Africa. The Byzantines lost vast territories, while the Sasanian Empire collapsed entirely. Though remembered as Islam's glory days, the Rashidun period was marred by internal strife. 3 of the 4 caliphs were assassinated. Supporters of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Muhammad's cousin and son-in-law, believe he'd been divinely appointed as successor. These Shias recognized only Ali and his descendants as legitimate rulers, while their opponents, later called Sunnis, rejected this claim. This political dispute grew into Islam's greatest religious divide. The Umayyads. In 661, the Umayyad family seized power and ruled for 90 years, moving the capital from Medina to Damascus. They established a dynasty, with a caliphate passed from father to son. Under them, Muslim armies launched new waves of conquest, stretching the empire from Central Asia to the Iberian Peninsula. Expansion in the west ended at the Battle of Tours, halting Islam spread into Western Europe. The Umayyads centralized power in Damascus, promoted Arab identity, strengthened administration, and built monumental projects, including the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. But rebellions, civil wars, and sectarian conflict plagued their rule. In 680 at Karbala, they killed Ali's son, a defining moment for Shia Islam. By the mid-8th century, opposition forces overthrew the dynasty in a brutal massacre of the Umayyad family. The Abbasids. In 750, the Abbasids rose to power, claiming descent from Muhammad's uncle Abbas. Their rule lasted over 5 centuries. They shifted the capital to a new city, Baghdad, which soon became the largest and most prosperous city in the world. Unlike the Umayyads, the Abbasids turned inward, focusing on governance and culture. Baghdad became the heart of the Islamic Golden Age. Poets, scholars, physicians, and astronomers flourished. Greek texts were translated into Arabic, laying the foundations of new scientific knowledge. The Caliph Harun al-Rashid, immortalized in the tales of Arabian Nights, patronized scholars and even exchanged gifts with Charlemagne, famously sending an elephant to Europe. Yet from the mid-9th century, Abbasid control weakened. Local dynasties rose, and the caliphs became figureheads. Arab dominance also faded, as Persian and Turkic influences reshaped Islamic civilization into a truly multicultural world. Decentralization, Buyids and Fatimids. In Iberia, a surviving Umayyad branch ruled Spain independently, where Islam lasted for centuries before gradually retreating under the Christian Reconquista. In the east, Persian dynasties chipped away at Abbas authority. Persian culture revived, with the Persian language reborn in Arabic script. In 945, the Buyid family, Shia rulers of Persian origin, seized Baghdad. They did not depose the Abbasid caliph, but reduced him to a symbolic role. Meanwhile, the Fatimids, a Shia dynasty claiming descent from Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, built their capital in Cairo and ruled vast territories. They opposed the Abbasids, spread their influence through missionaries, and even threatened Sunni authority. Though they never captured Baghdad, their shadow caliphate endured for 2 centuries. By the 10th century, Shia Islam had crystallized into distinct religious movements, no longer just political factions, but enduring sectarian identities within the Islamic world. Turks, Seljuks. In the 10th and 11th centuries, political and environmental pressures shook the Central Asian steppes, forcing waves of Turkic tribes to migrate. Nomadic and skilled as mounted archers, they moved into the Middle East. This movement followed 3 stages: conversion to Sunni Islam, migration, and eventual political dominance. By 1055, the Seljuks, a Sunni Turkic dynasty, seized Baghdad and overthrew the Shi'ites. They adopted the title of Sultan, a role that would define Middle Eastern politics for centuries. Though they did not depose the Abbasid caliphs, they ruled in their name and defended them, especially against the Shia Fatimids, reinforcing the caliph's symbolic authority as the sole source of legitimacy in the Sunni world. In 1071, the Seljuks defeated the Byzantine emperor at the Battle of Manzikert. This opened Anatolia to Turkic settlement and marked the beginning of its transformation from a Greek Christian land into a Turkic Muslim one. The Sultanate of Rum, a Seljuk offshoot, laid the foundation for modern Turkey. Crusaders, Ayyubids, Khwarezmians. In 1095, while the Islamic world was politically fractured, the Catholic Church launched the Crusades, calling for the liberation of holy lands from Muslim control. European armies seized Jerusalem and established Crusader states along the Mediterranean coast. For 2 centuries, they maintained their presence. Muslims, however, generally regard them as culturally backward compared to their own civilization. In the 12th century, Saladin, a charismatic Kurdish Sunni leader, rose to prominence. He dismantled the Shia Fatimid dynasty, founded the Ayyubid state in Egypt and Syria, and fought the Crusaders. His victory at the Battle of Hattin in 1187 reclaimed Jerusalem. Though this was a crushing blow, the Crusaders endured for another century. Meanwhile, the Seljuk state fractured, allowing the rise of the Khwarezmian Empire, a former Seljuk vassal that took control of Iran and parts of Central Asia. Mongols, Genghis, Hulagu. The 13th century brought devastation. In the Far East, Genghis Khan united the Mongols, nomadic warriors famed for their horse archery. Under him and his heirs, they built the largest land empire in history, ruthless and seemingly unstoppable. When the Khwarezmian rulers killed Mongol merchants, Genghis Khan retaliated with overwhelming destruction, erasing the empire. By the mid-1200s, Mongols controlled Iran, the Caucasus, and much of Anatolia. In 1258, Hulagu Khan, Genghis' grandson, demanded submission from the Abbasid caliph. The caliph refused. Hulagu besieged Baghdad, sacked the city, and massacred its people. The famed House of Wisdom was destroyed, ending the Islamic Golden Age. The caliph himself was executed, trampled under horses. 5 centuries of Abbasid leadership were gone. Rulers from the steppes, Mamluks, Ilkhanids, Timurids. Hulagu advanced toward Egypt, where the Ayyubids had been overthrown by the Mamluks, slave soldiers of Turkic origin who had risen to power. In 1260, at the Battle of Ain Jalut, they achieved the unthinkable, defeating the Mongols and halting their expansion. Under Sultan Baybars, the Mamluks crushed the Crusaders, restored a symbolic Abbasid caliphate in Cairo, and earned renown as the defenders of Islam. They ruled for 250 years. Meanwhile, the Mongol Empire fragmented. The Ilkhanids, Hulagu's descendants, ruled Persian Anatolia, and many converted to Islam, blending Mongol, Persian, and Turkic traditions. Despite their violent origins, they oversaw periods of cultural and scientific flourishing. In the 14th century, the Ilkhanate collapsed, replaced by the empire of Timur Tamerlane. Though infamous for his cruelty, Timur's dynasty also fostered art, science, and architecture. His empire lasted in various forms until the late 15th century. Ottomans, Safavids, Moguls. Around 1300, Osman, leader of a small Turkic principality in Anatolia, laid the foundations of what became the Ottoman Empire. His successors conquered Byzantine territories and spread into the Balkans. In 1453, they captured Constantinople, ending the Byzantine Empire and transforming the city into Istanbul, the Ottoman capital. This moment is often marked as the end of the Middle Ages. Under Sultan Selim the Grim, the Ottomans expanded dramatically. In 1517, they seized Cairo, executed the last Mamluk Sultan, and ended the Abbasid Caliphate of Cairo. Selim proclaimed himself caliph, establishing Ottoman religious authority. The empire stretched across the Middle East, North Africa, and southeastern Europe. To its east, two other great Islamic powers arose: the Shia Safavid Empire in Persia, foundation of modern Iran, and the Mughal Empire in India. Together with the Ottomans, they formed the powerful gunpowder empires of the early modern era. Conclusion: the Ottoman Caliphate, the last in Islamic history, endured for 6 centuries. It finally collapsed in the 20th century, in the aftermath of the First World War, closing a chapter of Islamic leadership that had lasted over a millennium.